Bow, 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 bow. Yay! It's the first show, or not? How you feeling? How you doing? Welcome to Beep Boop.
Feeling like it's time to beep and boop. What about you?
We're beeping, we're booping. That song just puts me in an instant good mood. Sound off in the chat if you're familiar with the 80s television show Growing Pains, because I forced Ornella as an elder. I made her watch the intro to Growing Pains and said, this song sounds just like Growing Pains. But what a great way to start off our first episode of Beep Boop. This is our first episode ever of a new show. Maybe you're joining because you're like, why is the reactor going live? Or maybe you're like, Chloe's been tweeting about this beep boop thing, or like, what is a beep boop? What are these crazy Instagram stories she's been doing to celebrate them? But Ornella, do you want to tell the lovely humans tuning in, all 19 of them? Oh my gosh, so exciting.
Whoa.
What is beep boop? What are we doing here?
Yeah, so Chloe and I are on a mission to learn AI and ML. We thought that other people potentially were also on that mission. So we picked out a handful of Microsoft Learn modules, which are just like free content that we make that's online. And we're going to go through them together. We're going to learn some AI and ML. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. And every session we'll try to do a different one. So today we're going to be doing a basketball themed one. If you're, ball is life, this is the session for you.
Truly, the original title of this stream, I think, when we were brainstorming was "We're playing basketball." Famous song of, wait, who was it? Lil Bow Wow?
Lil Bow Wow.
From Like Mike. Basket Boop! Leanne Harris. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Also, what isn't Beep Boop? Great question, Sarah. Remind me, okay, the origin of this title. Let's talk about an origin story here. How did you came up with Beep Boop originally, is that correct? Yes.
I did. I mean, as the title of the show, not in life, but
what does Beep Boop mean to you in its core and its essence?
Well, so every time anyone would ask me what I do for work, I would just say that I beep boop on the internet. So it only felt right that my first live stream would be called Beep Boop, so I could introduce everyone else to the life of beep booping on the internet.
Welcome to the stage, Beep Boop. I love this. I'm so excited. And what's really going to be fun about this, y'all, is truly, like, sometimes you turn in, it's not homework. Sometimes you tune into a stream and you're like, ooh, I'm going to have some prior knowledge to be able to follow along. Spoiler alert, you don't, because we're learning with you. What is your experience with AI/ML? I have a little bit of experience, but what is your relationship to artificial intelligence and machine learning thus far?
So I did not dabble before starting in this role, which was in April. So since April, I've been kind of diving into different aspects of it, mostly on like the data cleaning and preparation side of things. But yeah, this is it's new territory. It's new for us. So we don't have experience. You don't have to have experience. It's all good.
It's a shame-free, judgment-free zone, because we will probably be falling on our faces and learning as we go. Probably people in the chat are going to teach us a little bit about AI and ML.
Oh, for sure.
Let's see. I've played, so it depends on how broadly we're defining AI and ML in this way. I'll say my first experience with AI was seeing the movie AI starring Haley Joel Osment in 5th grade, maybe. One of the only movies I ever cried in. It takes a lot for me to cry. I'm not like a huge crier in movies, but if you're not familiar with that film, it is about a young Haley Joel Osment. We're talking post Sixth Sense, so like 90s, early 2000s, and he's a young robot boy, artificial intelligence, if you will, whose sole purpose is to be like a child, and he like this was a hot time in like the early 2000s where Bicentennial Man was the film. Like all of these robot films were like really, really big. And I remember just being so wowed by the idea that someone could put like a consciousness or like decision making capabilities into a human boy robot. Yes, Dennis, super sad film. The ending is wild, no spoilers. And I recently found out it was a Stanley Kubrick film that Spielberg took over after his death, I want to say. Learned that at the Jewish Museum in SF. But yeah, it's a very interesting. So that was my intro. And then full circle, a couple months ago, I gave a talk for the Power Apps conference one day thing that we did with all these lovely people like April Dunham and Donna Sarkar, where I gave a talk called How to Make AI Feel Less Like Sci-Fi, referencing the movie AI, about all of the ways that I would use Power Platform if I could go back in time in a time machine to Chloe in 2000, when would be 2010 when I worked in retail, and all the ways that I would use AI and ML to like solve problems. So for example, I worked at the Disney store. It was my first job ever. Surprise to no one, I'm sure. And if you've ever worked, raise your hand in the chat if you've ever worked in retail. Oh yes. So if you're not familiar, a big part of working in retail is inventory management. So if you've ever gone to like a Bed Bath & Beyond or a World Market and there's all these like tickets on things that are counting things, oftentimes like at night, all the employees will come do like an overnight shift and like count everything that's in the store and like take inventory of stuff. And one of the things that I wanted to solve using machine learning and AI was using Power Platform to just like, do you know what a magic towel is, Ornella? Have you ever heard of a magic towel?
I don't know. I don't
They're
think
like these, they have them at like the Disney store and like Disneyland. They're these little towels. Sometimes they were swag at conferences back in the day.
Oh,
Where,
the ones that expand?
yeah, you put them in the water
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
they turn into like a face towel. Oh,
yeah.
yes, hand goes up. Sarah knows what I'm talking about. You've got a kid. You know this. But there were, so a SKU for anybody who's not worked in retail or like not had the pleasure of working in retail, every like barcode on an item has a SKU. So like usually like a 12-digit number or something.
Yeah.
And I am not joking when I say some of the darkest moments of my college working career in retail were doing an overnight shift at the Disney store where I literally, Ornella, had to count hundreds of different SKUs
Oh
of
my
magic towels.
God.
And not just like, this is a Cinderella one, and all the Cinderella one go in the pouch. Like, oh, Cinderella with a mouse is a different SKU. Cinderella with a bird is another SKU. And just like watching Disney movies backstage, as we called the back of the Disney store,
Oh my God.
painstakingly with paper and pen writing down like, okay, there's like 100 million Snow White, there's like 2 million dopey ones, truly. And what's really cool is now with like things like Power Platform, just like basic machine learning, you can just take a picture and it would have just like counted all of that for me. So AIML, where were you when I needed you? That's my first question. But I'm super excited because I think a lot of what we're going to work on and what we're going to learn in this is like how to make our lives easier and let the computer do decision making for us.
Yeah. So today we're going to start it off with something maybe not as, useful in the everyday, but we're going to talk about player efficiency ratings in basketball. So even if you're not into basketball, it's very easy to follow along. A player efficiency rating is basically like a per minute productivity score that a basketball player gets, and it's based on all of the stats that you can count in a game. So like assists, points, et cetera, et cetera. I'll show a little bit of it in the Learn module. Also, shout out to Dr. Guthels because she wrote this Learn module. We have a star in our mid.
Enthusiast and the writer of this module here, the authors in the chat. Wait, so you're gonna have to break this down for me. Like literally, Sarah and Ornella, I am a theater, how do I usually say it? Not a retired theater person, a recovering musical theater gal. Don't know, have attended basketball games, love the food, love the dancing at the middle part. Don't know a lot about how these scores are accumulated, so that I'm
No
gonna need some
worries. We'll
info on.
explain. It's all good.
We got some retail people in the chat. Shout out to Leanne. Ooh, ex Barnes and Noble. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I miss going to Barnes and Noble.
Me too.
I miss
What I
Borders, actually. Borders
Right,
was
I was just gonna
good.
say what I wouldn't give to go to a Borders and look at planners right now. Like
Yeah.
that sounds really nice. Let us know in the chat where you're joining us from because we're like genuine, and also let us know why you joined today. Like, do you know a lot about AIML? Do you want to learn more? Are you going to
Yeah.
school us? What's your journey? Did you work in retail? We want to
And
know.
then if you want to follow along, like on your own computer, please do. We're going to go slow enough so that it's easy to do that. I'm going to be doing everything in my VS Code. So if you haven't already downloaded VS Code, go to code.visualstudio.com, download it, fire it up. It's really easy. We'll walk you through kind of how to get started with
And we have
downloading.
a link to the module we're going to be doing as well. So if you're more of like a
Yeah.
visual follow along learner, you want to do it later, don't worry. We're going to have summary blog posts. We got a little short link. I think it's aka.ms slash beepboop links one. We'll share that in the chat very shortly and on the screen. But yeah, before we start this journey, how are we all feeling? We feeling beepy and boopy? I'm feeling good.
How
I'm
many
excited.
people are going to download VS Code and follow along? How many people are just going to watch? Either way is fine. We're going to do some cool data cleaning, data preparation, even show you like how to kind of make up some data that makes sense sometimes when you've got some empty values in your data set. We're doing it all. There's
Oh my
box and
goodness.
whisker plots.
Did I just refer to halftime as the middle bit? Yes, I did. The intermission, if you will. You can tell I'm not really a sports person. Here's the thing, y'all. I appreciate sports. I think sports are great. I love the food. I love the snacks. I love the halftime show. I'm there. The middle bit. Ooh, we have played 18 years while growing up in Italy. Oh my gosh, professional b-ball player here. Love the sport.
Wow,
I am in
let's
Canada
go.
now. Goals TBH.
I played in middle school and high school.
Ooh.
And when I was in high school, I was terrible.
Okay.
And however, I still got put on the varsity team because I was the tallest girl on the whole team. And so I had to play center, which
Wait,
meant that I just got beeped and booped around a lot on the court.
full disclosure, this is wild, y'all. Ornella and I have become very close friends during the pandemic, aka the Panera, as I like to call it. How tall are you, Ornella? I have never, well, we've met in person briefly in the office years and years ago.
Okay, well, this is also the funny part is I'm only 5'7", but my team was just so small and I was the tallest girl. So I just like had to play that position.
I love this for you.
Yeah.
Wow, we're honored, Kathy. You're missing your run for this. Oh my goodness, we are honored. We hope that you get a run in later, though. Hopefully, it's not too late there.
Okay, let's make it worth it. Let's
Yeah.
make it worth it.
This will be fun. We have people are following along. Learn more. We're excited.
Awesome.
Also, anybody in the chat seen Space Jam New Legacy yet?
Oh, yeah.
I have not yet, but our module today is themed after Welcome to the Space Jam. We played the song, but we don't have the rights. Leanne says, I was the worst player on the team, on the fourth grade basketball team. I'm sorry to all the other girls. I brought the score down. I'm trying to think if I've ever, I have never played on a team. However, one summer my parents had me go to YMCA summer camp because they were both working, and some WNBA players from the Monarchs, shout out to Sacramento Monarchs, came and like taught us how to shoot baskets, but I probably was like under 4 feet at this point. I was probably in second grade. So I can't say I did watch a lot of Kings games back in the day because we were in the playoffs. I don't know what they're called in basketball. I'm more of a baseball girl, to be honest. Oh my gosh. Yes, Sarah. Everybody get up. It's time to everybody get up. It's time to slam now. We got a real jam going down. Okay, we don't have the rights. We have to cut. We have to cut. I'm going to share Ornella's screen
Yeah, let's
and
set it up there.
I'm super excited. Next time we do this stream, I'm gonna have to get an air horn sound effect on my stream deck. Just I feel like that is appropriate for this stream.
It's definitely our vibe.
Ooh, we got a Kings fan, Tony. Yes, Sacramento. Remember Mike Bibby? Remember Vladdy Divac? I mean, it was a golden era of Sacramento basketball. Baseball. Oh my gosh, I need to stop talking about sports. Okay, let's.
Okay, we're playing basketball. So I have the Learn module up and I have my VS Code up. Also want to say, if you don't have Python on your computer, hit up python.org, download Python, and then make sure you also have the Python extension on VS Code. So if you go to this button, that'll bring up the extensions, and then find the one just called Python. Make sure you have that one downloaded. And that's basically all you need.
Sweet. I'm excited.
So yeah, this is our little intro. Is this big enough for everyone? Hopefully you can just have it big on your screen, but just wanted to have it here.
Okay, wow. Okay, Sarah, Lakers. This is Kings country. No, I'm just kidding. I literally don't care. I love all basketball. I think all of the mascots are so cool and the colors are great. Okay. Okay, so this break it down for me.
So the first thing we need to do is just make sure we have the environment set up. So this is like data science, which is the first step to solving a machine learning problem, basically, because you'll have a data set. You need to make sure that that data is clean, prepared, like use visualizations to answer some questions about it. And then you can take that data and feed it into machine learning models. So we're really starting at the very, very front of the process with some data. So
how do you define clean data? Do you wash it? Do you condition? What is clean data to you?
We will walk through it in this lesson, but basically you're going to look for a couple of things in your data set. You're going to look for any null values. So like say your data is in a table, you have a lot of, stuff, values in the table, but say you have some like columns or rows that have just like zeros or don't have anything there. Do we want to include those? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Or like we have some columns that maybe aren't going to answer the question that we're here to answer. So do we need those? Not necessarily. So the very first step after we set up our environment is we're going to walk through that section of like, what do we look for once we get our data imported into VS Code?
And where does our data live? Is that in a Jupyter file?
So the first thing we'll do is make a new Jupyter file. So if you're following along here, it tells you to make a new folder called Space Jam ANL. So I'm in that folder right here, as you can see. And then we're going to make a new Jupyter file. So I'm going to select the little file thingy.
So Jupyter file is like literally a file type then?
Yep. And then we're going to call it Space Jam ANL. So IPYNB is the file extension for a Jupyter Notebook file. And if everything goes correctly, you should, I will not be taking the survey now, sorry. So if everything works, you should see a cell that you can enter some code in and then execute. So this is your Jupyter Notebook file, which is going to have multiple cells in it. So we have that file. Now, oh yeah, make sure that you have this notebook view. Make sure the server is connected. So you'll see the Python version that you have up here in the upper right-hand corner. And you can pick, if you have multiple versions of Python on your computer, choose the one that works for you. And yeah, now we're going to get the data. So a common way that you'll get data in like a intro situation is you'll have something called a CSV file. And Sarah has put the CSV file on GitHub. So let's go look at it. So this is what the file looks like. And if you look at it in the raw view, it's literally just a comma separated list.
Not clean.
So not clean. See all these empty things? Anyways, so we're going to take this.
Great comment from Sarah here that says, IMO clean data accurately represents the real world. So a lot of null zero values because a sensor was down isn't saying that the value is zero, it's that the sensor was down. So you might want to drop that column to avoid an incorrect assumption or conclusion. Okay.
True.
Okay.
True. Okay, so we're going to save this CSV file into our Space Jam ANL folder. And then we'll be able to see that same comma separated list inside of VS Code.
So wait, this is when Sarah put this into GitHub, it was just like plain text, or was it was just like this, right?
So yeah.
Okay.
Like the data structure, whatever, is literally just a comma separated list. So I'm going to show you how to make it how to look at it in a way that actually makes sense. And we're going to use notebooks to do that.
We're having some very funny banter in the chat. Dennis said, I hate working with CVS, haha, never worked with Walgreens.
Honestly, same, but it's going to be great when we bring it up in the notebook and it's like actually in a nice table that looks pretty and
Is there anything more satisfying than like clean, beautiful data?
No.
Truly.
Adriana's asking if we need a specific version of Python.
Good question.
I don't think so. I think just like any Python 3 version will work. Just make sure you have it selected up here in the upper right on your VS Code.
Oh, Sarah says she uploaded raw data, messy, just a list of data, one on each line that represents a player's basketball stats. Okay. Is Tweety Bird stats included in here? The Toon Squad? Are these the Toon Squad stats?
Yeah, so some of them are Toon Squad. Some of them are real players. And we'll kind of see that come together at the end, which is pretty cool.
There are nice extensions for VS Code to handle CSV. Ooh, thank you for that hot tip, Adriana.
Hey, Chloe, do you want to throw this?
Sure.
The link to the CSV file. Just
totally. I'll put that.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Moving on. We're going to use the pandas library to do some stuff with our code or with our data. So the first thing you're going to want to do in your notebook cell, your very first notebook cell, is to import the pandas library.
Okay, canonically, I do not think any of the Looney Tunes are pandas, though. So this is interesting. So far, so good.
A different animal. So we're going to import it as PD. That just means that whenever we call something from pandas, we can just use PD instead of typing out pandas. So we're going to run that. And if this cell executes successfully, you'll see the number 1 here, which means the cell's been run 1 time. And it will have no output. So we're good. It's in there.
Okay.
And now we're going to import the CSV file into a pandas data frame. So a data frame is just a fancy word for like a table. And you'll see that when we'll run this, same thing. This is the second cell. It ran with no errors, so we're good. And now we know that it's in here.
Hi,
So,
Morgan. Morgan
hey,
has joined the
Morgan.
chat.
Okay. Here's the fun part. We're going to just look at the data and see what we can learn about it. So just to do a little, just to kind of see what the data frame looks like.
Sarah's asking, can you make the file explorer smaller and make the code text bigger in VS
Yes.
Code?
Yeah.
They can do that. I'm going to tweet again real quick that we're still live. We're still slamming and jamming. Is that better, Sarah? Let us know. I think so.
Okay, cool. So these are just the first 5 rows of the data frame. So now we see that instead of that messy CSV mumbo jumbo, we have a table, which is very nice. And you'll see all of these headings. So it's a lot of acronyms. You don't need to commit these all to memory. The important ones here are the PER, which is the player efficiency rating, which is this last one. And then if you want a description of like each of them, just check out the Learn module because it has like every single one. But what you'll notice is that there's like this unnamed 4, unnamed 5. So we know we have 2 columns at least of just like random data that we're not sure what it is.
Okay.
And we also know that like all of these different acronyms are like basketball stats that are calculated into that's how you get the player efficiency rating. Does that make sense? So you don't actually need to know what they are, but like just there's something going on in the back that's like, okay, this is how we get that number.
So basically, okay, this is less of a AIML question, more of a b-ball question. So the player efficiency rate, the PER, is that what we call it? The PER?
Yeah, let's call it the PER.
The PER. Is there a cat in Looney Tunes? Oh yeah, Sylvester.
Pandas only.
Pandas only. Oh, thank you, Morgan. It's Canva. Shout out to our unofficial sponsor, Canva, for this background. And stay tuned afterwards for our outro music, which is exactly the same as our intro music with different graphics. But the PER here is basically kind of an average of good, cool things. I'm so good at sports, you guys.
Sure. Not sure if it's an average, but it's some calculation that's based on the stats that you can like count in a game. So like assists, possessions, points scored, etc.
So is this, seriously, y'all, not a sports person. So is this like when in football, how they do like fantasy football and stuff? They probably have like a similar thing for that it's like, oh, this person's going to do good and do this thing. Oh no, my stuff's disconnecting. Hold on. I'm back.
You're back.
Hold on. It wouldn't be a reactor stream without my computer's fan just like quitting halfway through and saying no. So it's basically kind of like, here's good things that so when they say like this person has this is LeBron James is the best player ever because he was in Space Jam and his PER is...
He does have the highest rating of currently active professional basketball players.
Dang. Okay.
27.49.
And I imagine that Michael Jordan, which Space Jam New Legacy is a reimagining, not a sequel, but they're probably like 2 of the top ones.
He has the highest of all time. Or at least he did when Sarah wrote this.
Dang.
But yeah, Chloe. So like this is how they make decisions about players like during games sometimes because it's a really like, easy thing to measure. And so that's what they can use.
Sweet. I'm learning a lot about like what we didn't, we should advertise more that you will learn a lot about basketball in this reactor series. We need to promote that fact more. Okay. Cool.
Okay. So let's look at this data a little more. So we see that these are the top 5 rows. Let's look for the missing values in this data set. So we're going to look for all of the occurrences of like a not a number value, which comes up as like this thing right here under unnamed 4 and unnamed 5.
Wait,
That's kind of what it looks like in the table.
Over there. Okay.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is add a new cell and get the total number of those values in each row. So from
why
this,
would it be an unnamed cell? I forget. Why would it say unnamed?
well, we just don't know what that column is.
Gotcha.
And also what we're seeing here is that in each of those columns, there's 46 not a number values. So like we can kind of safely assume that they're not really useful for us.
Okay. Wait, 46. Oh, columns. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And then we'll use this other cool method that we have access to in pandas that's just called info. That gives us really awesome, just like information about the table. And this is like a really easy kind of just like overview of what's going on. So we see all of these non-null values, which is what we want, right? We don't want things in our data set to be 0. But we know that these two columns, unnamed 4 and unnamed 5, they're just like all zeros. So we are gonna
trash that. We don't want you here.
We're gonna get rid of them. So we can use.
Sarah says, yes, unnamed because there's some random blank columns they didn't bother deleting, which happens in the real world with data collection.
Totally. Okay. So we're gonna drop the columns that don't have any values in them. So now,
the other day I sent a Instagram meme to Ornella. We got really scared because this girl was like, me when people say you don't need math for AIML, and we're like, oh no, do we need math?
We're like, where's their math?
We're like, where's the math? And Dennis in the chat just said, I looked up the formula to calculate the per, and I just got bad flashbacks to calculus.
Yeah.
We're truly just like using AIML to do the math for us because I have dyscalculia. I'm not good at numbers. So don't worry if you're not a math person. The pandas are helping.
Oh, yeah. I was like one of those kids who was really good at math. And then I got to college and it was like, what? Like
Seth
no one told me. Seth. Hey, Seth.
Seth, save us from the math. We need you. Wait, so you were good at the maths as a youth, but now you're just like, no thanks.
Yeah, no, not for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, we have all our columns now, and we're going to do info again, and we're going to see that we deleted those 2 columns that had all the null values, which is cool. We just ran a line of code and it deleted them for us. We love that.
We're cleaning the data.
Cleaning the data.
Now we condition.
So we've checked for rows. Now let's check we've checked for columns. So now we're just going to check for rows and make sure that none of the rows are totally empty.
Columns, rows. Okay.
So we're going to drop all of the rows that don't have any values by using very similar pandas call.
Okay.
And nothing happened. So we know that no row has all null values, which is good.
That's good.
We like that. Okay.
Thanks, Sarah. Making our life easy.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so we have this table. It's not a very big table, so let's just look at it. This is the whole thing.
Okay. The numbers are scaring me a little bit, but I've got you and Seth in the chat.
No worries. We can see, though, just by looking at this, there's still some null values kind of hidden in here. So we're going to have to do something about that. And, oh wait, it's a lot of numbers. Okay. So yeah, like these 3 rows are missing the same 3 values. And then there's another row that's missing like a whole 10 values. So maybe we need to get rid of those or do something about them.
Okay. So a lot of like, it seems like a lot of preparation to get ready to do the machine learning / AI stuff is making sure that your data is in a pretty format to be
Totally.
analyzed.
This is like the most satisfying thing for like people who just like love to see a clean table, because you like go through, do a couple of these steps, and then at the end you're rewarded with this like beautiful, perfect matrix of numbers, and you're just like, ah, yes.
Just call us the database, okay? We're here to clean the data.
So the next thing we're going to do is just drop all of the rows that don't have at least 12 values that aren't null, because we've seen that like there's a bunch that do have null values and we don't really want them.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. So we've done that. Now there's only 3 columns that are missing values, and you can see them here. There's 6 missing values in GP, 5 missing values in MPG, and then 9 missing values in the PER, the per.
And wait, what did we run to give us that, or to give us the missing? So the numbers here are what's missing, right? So there's 6 and 5 and 9 missing.
Yeah, so see this second line of code in the cell that says like player df is na sum. So that's calculating the sum of the null values in each of the rows. So that's how we know there's 6 in this row, 5 in this row, and 9 in this row. Does that make sense?
Yes. I also love that it's like is na. Nah.
Is na.
Not here.
Okay.
We got a question from Ryan in the chat.
Yes.
Would this be faster to clean data on Excel than import the data to Python? Ooh, good question.
Maybe, but we're trying to use like the open source machine learning libraries we have available to do a lot of the work for us. So like, why would I look through? So this is a really small data set, I guess, is kind of the point, in that we can print out this data frame in code and it won't like explode. But like a lot of the time you're working with data sets that are huge and have like hundreds and thousands of rows. And it's really awesome to just be able to do the sum of the is na, and then you like see all of the values there instead of just having to like dig through the Excel.
Okay, full disclosure, I have not seen Space Jam New Legacy all the way through, but I have watched the previews. And so like the way that I would put this in Space Jam terms is, you know, that scene where like all the people from like Clockwork Orange and like Rick and Morty and everyone, like imagine we had the data of every single Warner Brothers franchise, all the pers of all the people. I imagine, yeah, like for this data set, right? And I think totally we could have done Excel, but this is more to like, yeah, learn
Totally.
it for larger scale stuff.
So we deleted some stuff. And now what we can see here when we just print out the first 10 rows is that the index doesn't match. So we're going to just need to reset the index of the data frame because we deleted some stuff, right?
Gotcha.
So we're just going to renumber it really quick. So let's get a new cell, pop that in. Okay. And now when we print it out, oh, wait.
Also, we got a great comment from Seth here that says machine learning equals data janitor. I love that.
100%. So, okay, now if we print out the table, we're good. We see that the indexes match up.
Wait, go to the top again. Oh, okay, yeah. Wait,
right? What? So we're good.
The indexes match the... Where am I looking? I'm looking there.
So we want it to say, like, we want the index of the data frame, which starts at 0, because this is CS, to correlate to like the ID of each of these rows. So this is right. Cool. On to checking for outliers. Okay, there's some really cool box and whisker plots. in this
What does that mean?
segment, which I haven't seen since like maybe high school, maybe middle school. Like we had to draw box and whisker plots on paper, like on graph paper.
Wait, what are you saying? Whisper plots?
Box and whisker plots.
Oh, I was like,
Do you guys remember these? So it's like the box, and then these things are the whiskers.
Wait, what is this? I've never seen this in my life.
Oh my God, it's so fun. We'll go through it. But
Okay.
basically, like, see this little dot here?
Yes.
This is how you test for outliers. So, like, you look at the distribution of the data and you're like, that looks weird. So,
people are box and whisker plots, like, throwback to, and I'm like, literally, I'm like, on a cat? Like, what? I'm learning. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to use another really cool method in Pandas called describe. Pretty awesome that you can just call the describe method and it will give you like this set of stats about your data. Amazing. It tells you the count, the mean,
that's
standard deviation, min, max, all of the quartiles. We love that. So easy.
Dennis, I have not seen this either. I'm right there with you. I'm like, what is this Harry Potter wizardry you are applying to this data?
Okay, we're gonna look. It's cool. It's cool because basically, like, it's just a way to identify by looking at the distribution what is an outlier. So, like, I'll explain the box and whisker quickly. So, like, you know how you have these 25, 50, 75 quartiles? That's what's happening with this box. So like the min and the max and the quartiles are like all of the different, let's just try it.
Okay.
It's very fun. Okay, so we're going to import a couple more libraries that are useful here. Matplotlib is a great one. Wait, no. I want it to be PLT.
I'm learning so much. I'm like, whiskers. That sounds like someone's cat or something. Shout out in the chat if you have a cat named Whiskers. Let us know.
Okay, so we're importing Matplotlib and Seaborn, which are two other really useful machine learning libraries that you can get for free.
Seaborn. Okay, all these names are fascinating.
And if you get an error when you try to do this, make sure that you've installed them. And if you go into the Learn module, this purple note has the links to the installation guides. So you should see nothing if it works as expected. So
Seaborn sounds like Dramamine or something that you take not to feel drowsy or dizzy on a ship.
100%. Okay, let's make these box and whiskers and then we'll kind of talk through them. Boop-a-doop.
Whoa.
So this is what it looks like. And the same output is shown in the Learn module. So this first one all the way to upper left-hand corner is the points. And we see this dot right here, far away from the box and whisker. And same with this one in possessions.
Wait, very detailed oriented question here. The box is the box, I assume, and then the whiskers are like the eye-shaped thing?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I guess it kind of looks like whiskers. Okay, I get it.
Just a little bit. So yeah, this is kind of a situation, and Sarah talks about this in the Learn module. It's really helpful. But like, if you know anything about basketball, you'll know that like the likelihood of someone only scoring 1 point in their whole career, they're probably not in the NBA if that's going to happen.
It's me. That's me.
If we were doing a box and whisker for Chloe, maybe, but not for this data. And then same with like the number of possessions. Like we know that these outliers are garbage data. So
Okay.
we're
So
going to get
this
rid
would
of
be
them.
like almost like when, for example, our lovely coworker Cassie posted this video of her training her like visual machine learning or birds versus her like going like this. Like this is sort of almost like we're like, wait a second, that's not a bird kind of thing, right? Like we're just
Yeah,
like, this is not one of these things is not like the other, so to speak.
totally. So we're going to figure out which row has both of these outliers, and then we're just going to get rid of both of those rows.
Okay.
So like that player is no longer going to be in our data set. So in our data set, each row is a player, right? So we're just going to get those two players out.
What if this is just like a really bad player?
They can be really bad on their own time, but they don't need to mess up our machine learning model.
This is the Monstars. No,
Okay,
not canon.
the
We
worst
haven't
is
seen
that
the new one.
it's actually the same player who has both of these bad scores. So we're just gonna
Wow.
get rid of him.
The audacity. I'm
Okay.
trying to think what members of the Toon Squad have whiskers. I'll get back
So we
to
got
y'all.
rid of row 35, which
Okay.
was the one with both of the outliers. So now we can see, again, we'll probably need to realign the ID with the data frame numbers because we're a little off.
Totes. Okay.
Okay.
VS Code's super magic to like run this stuff. This is cool. You're our VS Code wizard. Ornella is like VS Code queen, and I'm learning so much.
In a former life, I was the VS Code queen.
I mean, once a queen, always a queen.
Okay, so we got rid of the outliers. Now let's look for the nans again.
Okay.
We're just going to look at them by row. So we've still got a couple lingering ones around these parts.
Which column did we clean before?
So we got rid of the two columns that were all empty.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then we got rid of two rows that had the outliers in them.
Okay.
So we push on to try to get to clean data with no null values.
This is going to be so satisfying once our data is squeaky clean.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We have kind of a lot of missing values here. And we don't want to just like get rid of them completely. So Sarah has done some education around educated guesses for things we could put in those columns or rows, which is pretty cool. So she says here, a really common strategy is to just replace a missing value with the value that's above it or below it. But we don't really know who these players are or like how they did. So we don't really want to do that. Another common thing is like to just use the average.
Okay.
So we might use the average, but let's see how the data is actually distributed, and then we can make a decision based off that.
Okay.
So we're going to do some histograms, another throwback to a different time.
And is that like historic Instagrams of like our founding fathers?
Histograms are just a fancy name for like bar charts.
Oh, okay.
Like these bad boys. I'm pretty sure the difference between histograms and bar charts is that in bar charts, they're not like attached, but in histograms, they are, or something like that. I remember thinking it was pretty silly when I learned it in like middle school or whatever. So let's pop in those histograms.
And this is like, I guess my question would be, where would we get a histogram from in the real world? Is this just like something that we would output our data visually, or like?
Yeah, so a histogram is a type of visualization. It's the name of this chart. So we have our data, and we can use matplotlib to just quickly make the histograms for us. If we look at this code right here, we are making a list of all of the column names. And then here's just a little bit of work to figure out like what size we want the plots to be and how we want them to look. And then this is just a for loop that goes through the data frame and makes a histogram for each of those columns. And then like, because we had the IDs of those columns, they're at the top. So each histogram is labeled with what it is.
Oh, we've got a comment here. It says, for bar graph, you can choose things like color. Histogram has to be numerical.
Gotcha. Thank
Today
you.
I learned. Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, we have these histograms, and we're just trying to figure out what the distribution is here so that we can make some guesses about what we want the data to be. So let's look at the one for the GP column in detail. So GP is games played.
Okay.
So we're looking at this in big form.
Games played. Wow, someone needs to get benched more. Some people are working overtime. Bugs Bunny, I'm looking at you. I don't know. I don't know which Toon Squad player it is, y'all.
So there's a lot of interesting things you can do to like check out like the probability density for games played or like other factors like that. So this histogram now is we're going to be doing the same column but as a probability density. So like the probability of each of being put in one of these bins.
Okay.
And finally, we're going to do kernel density. So this is going to be, so you know, like the bell curve, that's kind of like normal distribution.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of trying to juxtapose that onto the distribution that we have so that we can figure out what's going on and like what is a normal value. So let's plot that.
It looks like a cityscape.
Okay, this is a really fun visualization where we're going to do this for every column.
So wait, why are we getting a visualization? Because we're trying to predict.
So we want to figure out how each of these columns is distributed so that if we choose to put in a value that we like make up, like say we wanted to use the average of all of the values for that column, we kind of want to make sure before we do that, that things are actually normally distributed.
Gotcha.
Because then it makes sense to use the average, but in some cases it doesn't really make sense.
Like that last one, probably. Like,
yeah.
varying, like a tooth.
Yeah. Okay. So let's pop these guys in. So now we're going to have all of them. Boop, boop. So the observation that Sarah makes here is that there's two kind of top points in a lot of these charts. And each of those tops is a mode, which is like the most often occurring, you know, data point. So because they're bimodal, we kind of know that these numbers are coming from two different populations, which is interesting.
Okay.
Do you want to make a guess as to what those populations are?
Is it two different teams? Or maybe it's like Looney Tunes with wings versus... I'm trying to think, like, people probably have different abilities, right? So animals versus humans, or like maybe there's like, I don't know, canonically, I have not seen New Legacy yet, but I'm going to guess maybe there's some magic or alien activity that affects a team, perhaps? Just throwing out guesses.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to have a data set that has this bimodal situation going on, because there's a lot of situations in which we have like multiple segments of the population, right?
Okay.
So this is one really easy way to visualize that and be able to be like, oh, I wonder if I look closer at the data, I can figure out who those people are. Or with some knowledge about what this data represents, I can kind of understand what's happening there. So
you can learn a lot from visualizations of data. I'm learning.
Totally. So here, we know that the data sets includes human basketball players and Toon Squad people.
I got it.
So.
I did not run through this module earlier, y'all. That was pure. May not be good at sports, but Space Jam canon, I'm your girl. Okay, we're cooking.
We are also running close to time, so
yeah, we can either finish this out or we can just pick up where we left off next week. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Let me just look at this.
I don't want to rush through it too much, and this could be a cliffhanger we leave on.
Yeah. How's that? That works.
How's everybody feeling? I'm feeling like I've been educated a lot in the world of sports, Toon Squad basketball, to be specific. We beeped, we booped. I learned what a purr is. I learned about LeBron. I learned a lot of things. How are you feeling, Ornella? Our first beep boop. Initial thoughts.
I kind of forgot how awesome this module was, but I'm glad we're going through it again.
I'm just so stoked we have so many cool people like joining us in the chat. This has just been such a joy to like learn along with everyone and learn about, honestly, highlight of my day, learning about all your childhood basketball experiences. Truly.
That's what we're here for.
I'm feeling very like I missed out on a integral piece. I don't know about y'all, but for whatever reason, we were doing a lot of Macarena and square dancing in my PE classes in Sacramento, California.
We did that too. We had a square dancing unit where a caller came in and we had to do the whole do-si-do and everything.
Oh, wow. Morgan's saying she's feeling inspired. Awesome. I'm feeling inspired to potentially pick up this basketball career that I didn't know.
The next session of Beep Boop will actually just be a video recording of Chloe and I playing one-on-one basketball.
Yeah, it'll be us on the court shooting some half pointers. I made that up. I'm so sorry. Ooh, Leanne says, feeling good. We'll be back redoing this lesson. How to delay with my environment first, but super inspired and excited. Thank you all. Yay! Yeah, and if you want to go play through this and even get ahead of us, if you want to skip ahead, you can go to aka.ms/beepboop/links1. We'll drop it in the chat again. Ooh, this is so exciting. I'm so glad. We're teaching people about basketball. We're teaching people about, I learned about, what was it called? Not dual modals.
Trimodal distribution.
That.
Box and whisker. Box and whisker.
Box and whisker, which if I don't have any pets, but if I get 2 dogs or 2 cats, gonna name them Box and Whisker. I can't be the first person to think of that.
Should we end by bringing in Franklin?
Yes, absolutely. And then we'll close with our fabulous music.
Okay, please hold while I retrieve our show mascot.
Dennis is saying, no group singing along to I Believe I Can Fly. I'm so sorry to disappoint. One of my favorite YouTube videos is of a sloth who's stuck in the middle of the road in like Costa Rica, and it goes, I believe I can fly. Okay, Franklin, ladies, gentlemen, humans.
What do you have to say?
This is our mascot for Beep Boop.
What do you have to say about today's session? Thank you.
Beautiful. And on that note, thank you so much, y'all, for joining us today. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, picking up where we left off, beeping, booping. I will get my air horn sound effect set up for next week. So any final words? Otherwise, I'm going to play this great song to play.
If you're working on this in your free time, feel free to tweet at us, whatever. Yes. If you need some help, we're here. We're all just learning together. So happy to have you all with us.
Judgment-free, no stupid questions. I mean, look at all the questions I asked about basketball. How can it get worse? Just kidding. Okay, y'all. We're going to play our fabulous music. Oh, yes. On that note, Have a good evening. And here is a Bye.
Bye.